This is the skinless, I keep calling it the skinless foundation. That is atrocious. The mental image that brings to mind. The skinless foundation? Hey makeup friends, and welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here, then hello and welcome. My name is Kara, and today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on the new SurrealSkin Foundation from Makeup by Mario. I've done a full day wear test as well as a sweat test. I'm going to do some comparison swatches and give you my thoughts on whether or not the claims of this product have been borne out by my experience wearing it. So let's get straight into it. So the product retails for $55 Canadian or $42 US, and for that you're getting your standard fluid ounce or 30 milliliters of product. This is a vegan and cruelty-free product. There's less than 1% of artificial fragrance. It also claims to have ingredients in it that help boost the skin's moisture. So for example, it has grapeseed oil as well as vegetal squalene. In terms of the actual claims of the product, I know what they are now, but when I did my full day wear test yesterday and when I wore it the day before that, I didn't look up the claims because I wanted to be able to really formulate my own thoughts on how the product presented itself and how it wore throughout the day rather than trying to match up my experience with what the brand claims it's going to provide. So when you watch day one and hear my thoughts on the finish of the product, and then again towards the end when I talk about how it wore throughout the day, keep in mind that at that point I didn't know what the claims were. So I am going to talk about the claims, but I'm going to talk about them after we do the wear tests. Now before we do get into the wear test, I want to give you a little bit of information about my skin and about my preferences when it comes to foundation, because that's going to play into my overall review. So my skin, I'm 42 years old. I'm basically at my natural state of being here. I have had Botox in the past, but I have not had it done since, I believe it was around April of this year, so we're talking several months at this point. I have fairly normal skin. This time of year we have our furnace running 24/7, so I am about as dry as I'm going to get throughout the year. Even at that though, I don't tend to experience a lot of flakiness, usually contained only to the end of my nose, and I'm not experiencing that at this point of winter. Give it a month and we might be talking something different, but for now we're doing okay. I also don't have particularly sensitive or reactive skin. My skin will react to sunscreens, at least the vast majority of sunscreens, but for the most part, foundation and skincare, my skin doesn't really care all that much about it, and that has been my experience with this particular foundation. I have not experienced any bumps, any hives, any burning, or any itchiness at all. Thank God. In terms of my preferences for foundation, I like anything from sheer to medium coverage. I have worn full coverage in the past, but I really feel like it's overkill for me, so it's not something that I seek out, and it's not anything that really piques my interest. I'm also looking for a foundation that's going to have good durability during the day. I don't mind a little bit of fading away of the product, but it's when it becomes like completely separated across the forehead, or it's pooling in strange ways, or looking like it's just sitting on top of the skin by the end of the day. I don't want any of that. And finally, I also cannot stand a greasy feeling foundation. I cannot do it. So it has to set down, and even if it requires the assistance of like powder, that's totally fine because I'm in the habit of powdering my face, but I can't have like that heavy, weird feel on my skin where I'm just aware of the foundation. I do not like that at all. Now taking a look at this product, there are 30 shades available, and I picked up the shade 3W, which is described as being for light with warm undertones. I did the shade match on the Sephora website, and it was recommending shade 9W to me based on my other shades that I wear in other products. So buyer beware. I knew that that didn't sound right because it was almost halfway through the entire range, and I'm never that far into the range. So I'm very happy with the 3W. As you'll see when we do the wear test, that it really is a good match for me. It's not too light. It's certainly not too dark. I think at 9W would have been way too deep for me. So just be aware of that if you are shopping through the Sephora website, that their shade match is a little bit questionable. Now, in terms of packaging, I have heard some grumblings online about the packaging and saying that it looks quote unquote cheap. Holding it in my hand, I would disagree with that. This is nice glass packaging here. The lid is plastic, but it is very securely placed on there. This is not going to come falling off, and it doesn't feel like that really flimsy plastic. Like as I'm squeezing it, I can't bend it, and it does have sort of like a double layer in there. It does come with a nice pump, and like I said, there is 30 milliliters or 1 fluid ounce within the packaging. With that out of the way, let's get into the wear test. This is going to be really loud because everybody's home right now, but I know from wearing this yesterday that 1 pump is going to fill my entire face, so I'm going to go ahead and pump 1 pump on the back of my hand, but we're just going to start off with half, just so you can see sort of the difference that the foundation makes on my skin. So I'm going to use the Rare Beauty foundation brush to blend that out. The foundation does have a bit of a scent to it, but it's nothing distinct. Like I can't pick out exactly what it is that it smells like, and it's not overpowering at all, but I just want to make note that I can smell something. It's just not strong at all. So it's blending out really nicely. I'm not noticing any brush streaks on the skin. It's very lightweight. So there is half of my face covered with foundation, and it really just evens everything out. It really has a very natural looking finish to the skin, as you can see here with nothing. It's not super glowy, it's not mattifying, but it just looks like skin. And even from like this distance looking at the mirror, I don't see any foundation sitting on top of the skin. It really does blend in quite nicely. There is a tiny, tiny bit of tackiness, but not bad at all. It really does dry down almost to like a powder type finish. And we'll let that sit for a little bit, and then we'll check in on all like the little crevices. I'm just gonna go ahead and finish the rest of my face. All right, so I did my eyes such as they are. I haven't done liner, mascara, concealer, anything like that yet because I just want the focus to be on the skin. But I figured I'd give my skin some time and give that foundation some time to really dry down, settle in, do what it's gonna do. All right, so I'm gonna turn the side lights out. I'm gonna turn the ring light down and get in right close and proper. So across the forehead, I think, is the best place for us to look because that's the only place that I'm seeing any sort of issue. It's not a massive issue, but I haven't had Botox done in months, like 9 months, 10 months, so I'm basically back to my natural state. So I do have wrinkles, as we can see, and I'm not entirely sure if the camera is going to be able to pick it up, but I can see in the mirror, in these lines particularly, that there is a little bit of pooling of the foundation in those lines. But I will say, like across the nose, there's nothing gathered in here, or on this side, it's just in the deepest lines that I have. And even at that, it's really not that bad. Now keep in mind, I haven't set this with powder or anything like that, so I'm just gonna go back in with the brush, just do a little bit of additional blending, and that should rectify the situation. And in fact, it has. So I've got my super magnetized mirror going on here, and I no longer see any of that foundation line, like in those lines. So very, very minimal in terms of the caking effect, if you will, but the rest of my skin looks fantastic with this foundation on. Again, it just looks like skin. Like there's a little bit of a healthy sheen, but I wouldn't necessarily call it like a luminizing foundation. I don't think it's anything over the top. It just looks very, very natural. Again, it has dried down mostly. There is a little bit of tackiness left over, so I personally would prefer to set it with a little bit of powder. We'll do the quick old phone transfer test while we're in super close here. So we've got clean screen. I'll just hold it up and press it, not super hard, but firmly enough against the side of my face just for a couple of seconds here, and then we'll take it off. And there is a little bit of transfer, nothing terrible, but again, I personally would prefer to set it with just a little bit of powder, so that is what I'm going to do. That's typically how I wear my foundation anyways. Okay, so for now I'm going to go ahead, finish up the rest of my makeup, and then I will check in to show you how the foundation's holding up throughout the day. And it's now 9.5 hours since I've applied the makeup, so I wanted to do another check-in with you, get nice and close, see how it's wearing. Just for the sake of context, today has been pretty low-key. I went to Walmart, did some grocery shopping, did some like running around and whatnot, but nothing too intense. So this is just sort of, I guess, replicating how my makeup would look after a day at the office. And I've got to say, I mean, from this distance looking in the viewfinder, I do not see any issues whatsoever. And in fact, I've just got my mirror sitting right here, and if I look at the non-magnetized side, even still, I don't see any issues with it. If I flip to the magnetized side, and if I get really particular about it, I can see some signs of wear. So in between the forehead and up in this area in here, it has separated a little bit, but I would say that the fine lines that I have where it had initially pooled, after I reblended it and then just set it down with a little bit of powder, it has not caked back up within those lines. So even now, 9 hours later, I don't see like extra product pooled in that area. So moving down a little bit further, I can see that it has started to separate across the top of my nose, and there is a little bit of pooling along the sides. That's not uncommon for me to experience with the foundation, and again, this is me looking in a magnetized mirror. From, normal distance, I don't really see this. Along the tip of my nose and along the edge of my nostrils, there's no more foundation there, and it's also starting to wear away across the top of my lip here. That's just from me scratching my nose throughout the day, blowing my nose, wiping my mouth while I eat. I don't fault the foundation for that. Now, looking along the chin, hi, basic anatomy, the cheeks, again, I'm not seeing any issues. There's no dry patches. It doesn't look dried out and cakey. There's still nice luminosity to my skin. Obviously this is highlighter, but you can see across here, my skin just doesn't look flat. I can see my smile lines right here. I can see that the foundation has kind of cracked a little bit in that area. And so it has cracked a little bit where there's the most wear, and I can see it up here as well along the little crow's feet there. But it's not bad. I'm not upset by that. And then in terms of how my skin is feeling 9.5 hours after applying it, this feels so comfortable on the skin. There's nothing heavy or greasy about it. It's completely dried down. Honestly, it feels like my skin. I don't feel any product under there. I don't have the urge to wash my face. Nothing feels uncomfortable or heavy. It's just a very nice wearing foundation. So my plan at this point now is to test it out one more day. I do want to put it to a sweat test tomorrow, so I am going to hop on my bike and do a ride, and I will check in with you after that and then give you my final thoughts then. Hi. So I just finished a 1-hour ride on Zwift, indoor bike. Still out of breath. I didn't go very far, but it was all uphill, and I'm just kind of standing in my doorway half in, half out because I'm very hot. I don't know if you can tell, I'm sweaty. I wanted to see how the foundation would hold up. Concealer is not holding up all that well, but the foundation is. Yeah, I'm not seeing any issues. I am drying off pretty quickly because I'm half outside, but concealer was the Tarte Creaseless Concealer. Not if you're sweaty. It creases if you're sweaty. But the foundation, I'm just trying to exaggerate the lines. I'm not seeing any issues. Now, I am still a bit damp. And even then, it's not transferring off. When I was on the bike, if I touched my face, a little bit came off. So if you're really sweating. But I'm kind of impressed by that, truly. Because, oh, ew. I literally just hopped off the bike, took my shoes off, and got out here. So Sorry about the gunkies. Ew. Anyways, that's not what we're here for. We're here for the foundation. I think it's looking pretty good. I'm embarrassed by the corners of my mouth. Sorry. Yeah, got no other thoughts to share at this time. I'm just kind of surprised that it's held up as well as it has. There's a little bit of creasing in there, but honestly, that's not bad at all. Like there, it's fixed. I'm impressed. It is now time for a shower though. All right, so there we have the wear test. So today marks the third day in a row that I've been wearing this foundation. I feel like I've given it its fair shake so that I can now answer the claims that the brand has for the products, which I wrote down because pregnancy brain never went away. My baby was born 10 years ago. Pregnancy brain never went away. All right, so it does claim a natural finish, and if I recall correctly, I did say that a couple of times when I was applying it during the day one wear test. It also claims to be hydrating, and I would agree with that claim. I don't feel like it would replace skincare, and I don't think it's claiming to, but in terms of maintaining that moisture level throughout the day, especially at this time of year, sitting here in winter, like I said, we have the furnace going. It is bloody cold outside, the wind is whipping, very unfavorable conditions to the skin, and yet over the last few days while I've been wearing this foundation, I have not had any dry patches develop underneath the makeup. I haven't felt like my skin has been tightening up or getting itchy throughout the day, so I do think that the claims regarding it being a hydrating product are borne out. It claims to be buildable and effortlessly blendable and to have a medium coverage. Now, I did not try to build it up beyond the initial application. That's just not how I wear my makeup. So any experience I would have with that would feel strange and look strange to me because it would just be heavier than I'm normally used to. But it does have a nice medium coverage. I do have some freckles on my nose. I'm just looking at the mirror that I have on the desk because dark lipstick, high risk, high reward. I don't see the freckles at all. I also have a large freckle over in this area, and no, we are not going to call it an age spot. It will be a freckle until I am 89 years old. And I can barely see it. So this foundation has really done the job of covering up what I would want it to cover. The other claim that it makes is that it plays well with others. So basically it blends well with powder products and with cream products. And again, I can confirm this. So for example, today's makeup, which I meant to talk about at the beginning of the video, but here we are. The eyeshadow palette is from Kaleidos. This is the shade Cold Brew. And then the lipstick is from Il Makiage. It's one of their Dirty Talk matte lip colors in the shade William. But base is what we're interested in. So not only do I have the foundation on, but then I went in with a cream bronzer and a cream blush. And then once those were blended out, I did a little bit of powder and went in with a powder highlighter and then just a finishing powder on top of all that. The cream products didn't disturb the foundation underneath. I had no issues with blending them on top of this, even though it hadn't been set down. And then in terms of applying powder on top of it, it didn't like grab onto the powder in any sort of weird, strange way. I was able to just set the powder across my face very easily. No like patchiness, no cakiness developing, anything of that sort. So in terms of the claims that the brand has made for this product, I think that they're accurate, which is frankly a pleasant surprise because there's usually one that's completely blown out of proportion, and that's not the case here. So to tie it all up with a bow, I have enjoyed my experience wearing this foundation and I can see myself continuing to use it. I do not foresee this being a product that just sits in my drawer until I eventually do a declutter. This could very well be my go-to foundation. I just think it looks so natural and so beautiful on the skin. I've really enjoyed how it feels throughout the day and the durability of the product itself. So I can see myself trusting this to get me through an entire work day. And with all that said, I'm going to wrap the video up here. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. I'd love to hear your comments if you've tried this foundation. If it's something that you are interested in, let me know down below. Otherwise, I will see you in my next video, and until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.